So the topic for today that I wanted to discuss with you guys was something that germinated in my mind a couple of decades back when I was a student of sports management. When I was pursuing my sports management, I was studying the sports dynamics of major sports markets across the world. And I realized that, every sporting nation, major sporting nation, had a fast-paced sports product. Now, if you see, in these countries, there is one sport which defines the major pastime of that country. In America, it is baseball. In England, it is probably cricket. In Australia, it is definitely cricket. And in India, we had cricket as our favorite pastime. But was there a fast-paced sport which complemented this favorite pastime? And in America, they had American football. In England, they had soccer. In Australia, they had rugby. But I saw that India did not have its fast-paced sports product. And when I came back to India, my pursuit was to try and identify this sporting discipline. The two sporting disciplines that I shortlisted at that point of time, one was football, one was hockey. But as they tell every sports management student to do, I did a SWOT analysis of both the products in India. And then I realized that while football is this great, beautiful game, unfortunately, our standard of play and our players were of inferior quality to the European soccer that our fans were being exposed to at that point of time. So therefore, football did not pass the mark. So then when I looked at hockey, I found the reverse. The hockey standards in India and the hockey players were world class. However, there was an intrinsic problem with the sport. While the sport has a great emotive value at the national level, that is when India plays at the national level, when India plays at the Olympics, naturally it draws your attention and interest towards it. But when we are talking about commercialization, league sport, did hockey pass that mark? And unfortunately, I found that did not happen. So as I discuss this topic further with you, first let's try and understand that what is the history of league hockey in India and what is the present situation with that. So as far as league sport is concerned, you'd be very surprised to know that the first sport that actually tried league sport in India was hockey. In fact, ESPN Star, the former great conglomerate that was formed in the sports broadcasting space in the late 90s and early 2000s, formulated this product with the Indian Hockey Federation at that point of time. And then it was called the Premier Hockey League. It started well, but it was a caravan format of a tournament and there was no franchisee element to it. When league sport does not have any franchisee element, it does not work, Like for example, if you look at the IPL, and if you take out, all those owners, the Malias, the Ambanis, the Preeti Zintas, the Shah Rukh Khans, will it remain the same product? It will not, right? So the dynamics of the franchise, the owner, is also very important for league sport. Unfortunately, it was the Premier Hockey League, though a good concept, but it was a very caravan format tournament and, didn't bring the team dynamics into picture. So that eventually went into a dud. There was another broadcasting company, Nimbus, and they surprisingly to me took the rebel route, and they formulated the World Series hockey. But naturally, they ran into collision with the, governing body of hockey in India, the federation at that point of time. And therefore, even that saw premature death. The third was, the Indian hockey body, the apex body, is called Hockey India. And Hockey India formulated its own league. This ran till 2017 for about 4-5 years and had some of the top players of the world playing in this league. But unfortunately in 17, due to lack of finances and the game not having that kind of viewership, it took a short break. However, heartening, it has come back in 24-25 season, and I see some traditional areas of hockey like say Karnataka or Mumbai are not being represented in this league anymore. But then, some new parts or parts which had a great history in hockey, like say Kolkata, have emerged as new destinations. Orissa and its role in Indian hockey, the national team, has been phenomenal, right? And even the present president of the Hockey India apex body is Dilip Tirke, a former Olympian and a great of the sport. He originally hails from Orissa. So I find that, this league is very tilted towards the eastern part of the country. And that will be a separate topic of discussion as to why, certain other nerve centers of hockey have to be tapped for it to be popular. But still I find that, there is a miss in how we are running hockey in this country. I think they've not got the format right. And there, I think, lies a solution and why I wanted to do this video. That solution lies in an Australian great, probably the greatest hockey coach and player of all time, Ric Charlesworth, developed Hockey Nines. It's like, if you want to understand what I'm trying to tell you, is like this. Say you take the IPL and say we were not using the T20 format of the game, right? And we were using the one-day format. Would it still succeed? No, right? Therefore, in hockey, I think there is a miss. They are still playing the 11-a-side format that they play at the international level. I think they need to adopt the Hockey Nines, which is the Ric Charlesworth method. What is Hockey Nines? Let's understand it in detail. So what is the Ric Charlesworth Hockey Nine format? Well, first, let's also understand the fascinating character that Ric Charlesworth is. Ric Charlesworth is a former first-class cricketer in the 70s and 80s in Australia. Has played hockey for Australia at the highest level. If somebody's been following hockey like me during this early 80s, mid 80s, would know Ric Charlesworth as a player. He's probably the most successful coach ever for hockey. He's successfully coached both the men's and women's Australian hockey teams to great successes at the Commonwealth Games, at the Champions Trophies, at World Championships, and at the Olympics. So he's been there, done it all. And when Ric basically formulated, the Hockey Nines, he said, I've made this specifically for India and Pakistan. So his concept was basically to try and understand, because he's a first-class cricketer also himself. I think somewhere the thought behind him was to create a T20 format of hockey. And therefore, while I'm not fully adept at basically technically analyzing the game, but as a viewer, I can say that hockey in its present format looks too fast, too cluttered to see on television. And I advise and also encourage young sports management aspirants and students to basically research this topic more. Try and do a SWOT analysis of hockey. Try and see whether basically hockey works or not as a television sport. And I feel that it's little fast. And what Ric developed was he decluttered the sport a little bit. So he reduced the number of players from 11 to 9. He took off a very important component of the sport, which looks very cluttered on television if you see modern hockey. That is the penalty corner, which is a very critical area in field hockey. And he converted it into some kind of a new format where you basically take a corner with, limited number of defenders and 5 attacking forwards. Looked fascinating. It was a 30-minute game instead of a 70-minute game. And it was fast-paced, and it could, the whole dynamics of that sport, that format, matching it with, league sport will, I think, take hockey forward. And I think if hockey has to be commercialized, if you are trying to find, an IPL in hockey, then it has to be Ric Charlesworth's Hockey Nines as a way forward. Hockey is a fascinating subject. It can't get over in one video. And I hope to cover this sport far more, with more in-depth analysis. My wish list to my production team, my research team is, I'd like to speak to Mr. K. Armugam, hockey historian, and who runs a fantastic 1000 Hockey Legs NGO program. I urge you to, basically follow it, Google search it, read about it. Another interesting character that I saw, much younger person than me, who ran a Twitter handle called Give Me Hockey, and who passionately follows the sport and gives a fresh modern perspective to the game of hockey and the Indian hockey team. So, these are some of the personalities that I'd like to meet. I'd like to meet Viren Raskina. And Viren Raskina, heads one of the best sports organizations in India, the Olympic Gold Quest team. Viren, former hockey player and, post-retirement from hockey, went into the corporate world, did his, management education from the prestigious Indian School of Business, Hyderabad, and now heads one of India's best sports organizations. It would be great to discuss, the commercial aspects of hockey with him, the potential that hockey has with him. I know that, hockey is doing very well at the international level. The government supports Indian hockey very well. The players are supported well. But for, exploiting it in the private sector through a league format is a different ball game altogether. And that will be my pursuit with hockey in the near future. Hope this content interested you. I know that hockey, I always joke that, England has exported two great things to India. One is cricket and one is hockey, and we've made them our own. And there's a fascinating journey of how, the cricket world and the hockey world, their history and trajectory. And as to where they are presently, it depends on, certain World Cups that took place around the same time during the 80s and the 90s. That's for a separate, video. We'll surely cover hockey so that you also understand the sport better. But this was basically for me to, try and understand and to germinate the idea as to whether hockey can be commercially exploited or not. So if you like this content, please, share, subscribe, and support this channel. We look forward to bringing more such engaging content to you. Thank you. Keep the inner athlete in you alive and look forward to meeting you again soon. Thank you.